called the probe a witch hunt and said investigators should instead look at the involvement of the Clinton family in a uranium deal with Russia. It comes amid reports that the first arrest in the Russian collusion inquiry could be made as soon as Monday. Giles Gibson is following the story from Washington. Thanks so much for joining us, Giles. Now, who exactly could be the target of these charges?
Well, there's been intense speculation here in the US Capitol, really since Friday, when these reports emerged that the Mueller investigation was moving forward with actual charges in their investigation. Now, the speculation in the US media has really focused on three different men. Firstly, Paul Manafort, who, of course, was Donald Trump's campaign manager at one point during that 2016 presidential race. The second man is Michael Flynn, who was actually Donald Trump's very short-lived national security advisor for the first few weeks of his presidency before he was forced to leave that job after a scandal that erupted in that first month or so of Donald Trump's presidency. And finally, the third man is Donald Trump Jr., Donald Trump's own son, who, of course, took that now infamous meeting in Trump Tower with that Russian lawyer at the height of the campaign. Now, of course, all of this is speculation at this stage. We don't have any concrete details about exactly who these charges could be brought against. But really, this does mark a very significant shift in this investigation by Robert Mueller. This is the investigation really changing up a gear and going from exploring some of these allegations of collusion to actually, according to these reports, moving forward with actual federal charges.
And Giles, why did Donald Trump react so angrily over Twitter?
Well, a lot of political analysts here in the United States are really expecting or really interpreting that Twitter tirade, that Twitter storm, as they're now known here in the US Capitol, as essentially Donald Trump trying to distract the narrative, trying to change the narrative after that report emerged on Friday about Robert Mueller moving forward with these charges in his investigation. We saw a series of tweets from Donald Trump over the weekend. I'll just quote one of them back to you. He said that the Dems, meaning the Democrats, are using this terrible and bad for our country witch hunt for evil politics. So really Donald Trump continuing a narrative that he's been pushing out there for months now about these allegations of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. And that narrative is that it's simply a witch hunt by his political opponents and that there's no actual sort of concrete detail, no evidence for this. But clearly, despite those attempts by the president to change the narrative, we could see in the next 12 hours or 24 hours Robert Mueller's investigation making their first arrest as part of their probe into these allegations of collusion. So really, this is a very, very significant moment, despite the president's attempts, apparent attempts to try and change the narrative on this.